What's good, y'all? We back again for the Love Conquers podcast, where I interview dope couples who are gonna be dropping gems on areas of their relationship that you may be struggling in. Look, I got an amazing couple, right? Like you know when a couple is amazing when they get referred. Like I interviewed somebody else and they said you gotta interview Zach and his wife Lo Woods. I'm like, okay, let's get it. So I got Miss Lo and Zach Woods in the building, man. How y'all feeling today?
Feeling good, really good.
I'm feeling good as well.
Nice. Look, y'all might hear something in my voice. I promise I'm not sick. I just got a little throat thing going on. So we gonna make it work today. We trying to put out some powerful content that can maybe help somebody, right? Maybe help their marriage. And this couple was, brave enough, and they were just willing to come help somebody else. So I just want to say I appreciate that. I thank you for, coming on here today to the Love Conquers podcast and being vulnerable to helping somebody else. So I always ask all my questions. I always ask all my couples one question, right? What makes y'all relationship dope? And remember, I ask this because somebody's struggling in that area. Somebody where y'all thriving in, somebody they can't figure it out. They need a little help. So what makes y'all relationship dope?
First I want to say thank you for having us on here. I was honored to be here. I like to say that I believe what makes our relationship dope is that we are very different. Almost two completely opposite people, and that it's almost a challenge every day dealing with each other. Not necessarily a negative challenge. It's almost like a positive push in a direction that we want to go or need to go, but sometimes are too stubborn ourselves to go ourselves, And we already know that, and we see that as ever-changing struggle in ourselves. So as we see that and we acknowledge that, it's able to push us to grow, even when we're having our tense moments.
Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes, and I would also add that, I feel like we challenge each other because we are so different. Like, he's not used to somebody like me, I'm not used to somebody like him, but we balance each other out almost perfectly.
Nice.
So it's kind of literally yin and yang. That's how I kind of describe our personalities and how we fit into our marriage, and just how we kind of flow. It is a challenge. It is definitely a challenge to communicate sometimes. Yeah. But we push through it, and I love that we are always trying to look for the resolution instead of trying to be right.
This is good.
And that was learned. Honestly, that was learned.
I had a lot of questions. That's that's so good because they say opposites attract, right? But they never say after the opposites attract, what does that look like? So we got to dive into this because I'm pretty sure, right, that it's a couple struggling in that area of trying to figure out how to gel, how to mash. So Zach, since you started, bro, I got to come back to you. What made you take this thing to the next level with her, and y'all were so different? Right, because it's somebody who really want to take something to the next level. Y'all married, y'all got kids. You know what I mean? You got a kid. That wasn't scary to you to take it to the next level?
It was I wouldn't say a fear, but it was a slight, I guess, anxiety a little bit about it. But I think I manifested this. I always said that I would be married by early 30s. I have a child by early 30s. I didn't put that pressure on myself, but I just felt that would be the time, when it would happen. And it was around that same time where I met her, and it was really a feeling. You know what I'm saying? I know people say the cliche you a feeling of love and everything, but it's I didn't really come from a household of a lot of feelings and affection, so it really actually made me uncomfortable. It still makes me uncomfortable, honestly. And she's a very affectionate person, and so the fact that I was even able to allow her into my space and be that person to me that always irritated me, that was a sign in and of itself. Is all right, she's already switching one box, and myself that was always a hole for me, And so from that moment, I told her straight up in the kitchen. I said, "Hey, I'm trying to like you, girl."
Wait, Paul, did you say I irritated you?
No, I didn't.
Did y'all hear that?
Hey, this is the Love Conquers podcast.
You heard the love I said. That's the one thing she
I
heard.
irritated you.
No, I didn't. And we got it on video too. We can play it back. I love this.
We're gonna have to work it, but okay.
So like that's dope. So like what I heard from that, you know, and I'm always reiterating what the couples are saying, right? Because I want the audience to catch it. When I heard you say personally, you can tell me if I'm wrong, right? But since she literally, and this may be a gem, like she unlocked something in you that you didn't know could be unlocked, or that you knew, or I say it better, that you know needed to be unlocked, right?
It's almost that if she unlocked a door, I allowed her to unlock a door that I never let anyone into the space. Actually, she made me comfortable enough to unlock that door. Honestly, it was really her presence, her spirit that made me broke that wall down for me, and I recognized that in that moment. Like, dang, this is a different feeling.
So I see what this podcast is about already, like teaching the masses like how to be able to know and see signs when, like, yo, you opposite, but this might be the person for you. So I'm gonna come to you, Miss Lowe, and ask you, like, he was opposite from you and you felt that, but you were still willing to, you know what I mean, like accept him and be with him. What made you say? Because he told us, right? He said, look, she was opposite from me, but she made me feel a way that I knew that I needed to be with her because it's going to allow me to grow. Like, so I'm coming to you and saying, like, what was that for you? Like, what was that feeling for you to say, okay, I don't know, I can be with this guy even though we opposite?
I guess for me, it was, he came at like an interesting time in my life. Like, I was going through, I would say, like a transitional period, like finding myself and just what I wanted and what I liked and all that. I just got out of a relationship and I was just like over everybody in my whole entire life. So I think at that point, when I kind of like was breaking down and like going through my spiritual journey, and then finding myself, and then him coming into my life and like showing me something different, it kind of opened my eyes to something different, and he made me feel comfortable. I guess I've never let anybody in the space where I was completely like vulnerable and where I could trust somebody, but he made me feel comfortable, and I think him bringing a different light inside my life and different experiences that really kind of broke that wall down and opened myself up to kind of like his different nature and in a different way of doing things, I guess.
That's a lot though. Let's process that. And both of y'all can chime in on this, right? Let's break that down because that's a lot. Because it's you know, you were going through and I really feel like what you just said gonna really help somebody, right? Like you were going through a transitional phase. Many people do, right? Many people, they close up. You said you were ending a relationship, and so getting out of that relationship, and then you going through your own self-discovery, and now you're taking on somebody new, right? I have to ask both of you, like, what did he show you that was different though? What did he show you that allowed you to say, hey, I'm finding myself, I'm going through this journey, but it's something different? What was that difference? I'm sorry, I put you on the spot.
Okay, so this is deep, I guess, or personal or whatever, but for me, it was I had a very specific type. Like, I liked 6'7" ball player, better be going to the league, fine. Like, I had a specific type, and I didn't really care about, I just took whatever came with it, and that was just unhealthy. I was in a very unhealthy relationship. So I had to let that go.
Got it.
So, like, for him, when I was going through my spiritual journey and, like, when I was finding myself by myself, being vulnerable with him and with God together, like, opening myself up in that way, and him bringing a lot of things. Like, I didn't grow up in a church, or like I wasn't a very I guess we were spiritual, like we knew God and stuff like that, but like he brought a different light to me, like fasting and like really being disciplined and really just going on a spiritual journey with God. Like that he kind of brought into my life and kind of helped me grow within myself and together. I guess, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting too deep. I don't want to like put y'all in my business.
So what you say, Zach, would you say that like that was intentional to show her that side? Like, did you feel at that time like that was something that was intentional?
Honestly, it was
oh, I'm sorry. And just to clarify, that part of our relationship just made me open up and I guess vulnerable to kind of like, doing something different.
What's the question?
Yeah. So what you say like that was intentional by showing her that difference? Like, did you feel like she needed that? Because once again, and it's a backtracking, right? Just you guys started out with, your relationship is dope because the differences, right? And it's a couple out there that doesn't know how to bring that difference together. And so right now we in the beginning stages of how did that difference even come together? And then we can tackle like, what does that difference look like while you're together? Right? So I want the audience to follow like, if you're in a situation where you meet a great guy or a great girl and you know that like, we in two different spaces in the moment, but how can we gel this together? Like what I heard Ms. Lo Wood say is, hey, she kind of opened herself up to something different because she saw that something in the past wasn't working, right? And so then I'm coming back to you to say like, that's extreme when you're showing people differences like fasting and a spiritual life. And was that your intention, or is this just organic?
I believe it was just organic. I should say we was different. I grew up in a church. I was there every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I was there a lot, and so when I met her, it was different because she didn't, like I said, she didn't grow up in a church, but she knew enough to want to go every once in a while, and she had already started on her spiritual. She said, "I'm already starting. I'm gonna try and learn stuff," and so I was like, that's perfect. At the same time, I was in my journey, but I could always go deeper. You know what I'm saying? So it was perfect time for me to try and not necessarily teach her, but help her and on her path. And her journey as well as growing myself. And then I think it really became just a personal journey, and I think like she kind of fed off me while I fed off her because I'm 0 or 100, so I do too much. So it could be overwhelming for her. So that's why it was kind of like a separate but joint journey, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So it was kind of like, that's why I say we fed off each other of I'll be on my fast, and then she'll be like, you know what, I'll do that too. And then we join a fast, we start doing things together, and then it was kind of like that. So it really was just kind of organic in that way.
I like that. Well,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like, I guess the difference between like my type and him is I saw that he was being led by someone. So I was trusting enough to follow him because I knew that like he believed in God and like he followed God, and I could hold him accountable to that, like being a man of God. So like I felt like that was a big difference between that, like the past types and like him.
I like that you brought that up, right? Like both of y'all bring some good, like, so I want to make it tangible, right? Like, because both of y'all are giving a lot of good information, and what I'm hearing is, first of all, I appreciate, y'all being vulnerable, right, in this space once again. And like what I'm hearing both of you guys say is be open, right? Like you guys have to be, for y'all to be really on two different planets at the time. At the beginning, like it was kind of like two different planets, and you guys were open to the fact of learning something new, and I think that's a big. Oh man, I think personally from the couples that I talk to, people that I talk to, I think that simple concept of being open leaves a lot of people missing out on the person they're supposed to be with or could be with. Yeah. Because they're afraid to be open to that spirituality. They're afraid to be open to somebody different, or just the openness to grow with somebody.
Yeah. I think everyone gets lost in the concept of finding people that they're alike or similar. But
why is that?
That's because that's what they're taught, or that's what they're comfortable with. They're taught with being comfortable. But if something challenges them, honestly, you can't grow without a challenge, or you can't grow without something adverse. And so I believe that I've always believed that, like, instead of finding someone that's exactly like you, you find someone that's opposite of you, and that comes together and makes a circle. And so therefore, since she's so different from me, it forces me to be different. Something that I am not comfortable in, but challenges me to grow, as in our communication methods are different. So therefore, she needs a softer tone coming at her, and I need to be less aggressive with some kind of theatric, whatever. So I need to be like kind of toned down in order for my words to get across to her. You know what I'm saying? Or she also understands that I'm very plain in what I say. So she's learning that she doesn't have to necessarily be so sensitive in what she hears, because it's not kind of what I think you said, it's what you actually said, which is hard for people to differentiate nowadays, and in conversation as well, because of perception and feelings and everything involved. Right. So I think that push for the change in us is what really glues us together, because we already know we're different. So it's not like a surprise. It's like every day, like, all right, well, we know this is this thing, but this is our pool, so let's do that.
Man, that's good, bro. Man, that's good. My question to that would be, I feel like, and I'm gonna just use an example, right? I feel like a coach should have a coach, right? I feel like the player should learn from somebody. So I'm just using you guys as the player. Who did you guys get that, like that type of thought process from somebody, or because this is where I think the real growth is going to come in for the people that's watching. They're like, okay, Aaron, Zach, and Lo, we're different. Take us to that next level, though. How to, because you just gave out some tangible advice on personality assessment. You saying, but hey, understand your wife and understand your husband personality and see how to come together. That's hard. So, did somebody teach all that? What can you tell the audience? What can they get that type of like learning from? Or did y'all just trial and error, like authentically?
I don't think we have the patience for trial and error. Like, because we married obviously now, but like trial and error, So y'all had to get it from somebody then,
right?
Okay, we definitely did. We both seen our parents married their whole entire lives, but we can't say that we seen like super happy marriages all the time, which everybody can say that. Like, they can't say they've seen their parents happy all the time,
right?
Like, for real. But we like understand and I guess respect on a mature level that love is patient. Like, it is like literally patient and just trying to constantly understand somebody and literally choosing that person like every single day. And I think we've seen that in our own way between like each of our parents.
Yeah, I think both my parents are extremely different, so that's kind of I've never thought about that until it's been said to me, but now I see it. They're very different, so it's probably like the subconscious thing. But I think I said to Lo like not too long ago, I was just like, the one place that you should feel love and feel safe and everything is at home. So I was saying that, and if you constantly kind of put that thought in your head, it's kind of like if she was to ever get on your nerves, which you never do, That's just the thought you think about, like putting it before yourself. Like, I love the moment right now? Whatever's happening is okay. Of course, I'm mad in this moment, or feelings are valid, but that doesn't supersede the feeling I have for my wife or for the household in general. So let's mitigate the negative energy as much as we can, because it should be, we should be happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? At the one place we should be happy to be at.
That's good. This is what a pen and paper come in at, guys. So I need you to write this down. This is really important. Let's take what they said and let's write it down, right? First thing I want you to write down is understand your spouse. He said it. She said it. He's more, and this is his words, right? This is exact words. He's more theatrical, right? So him and his wife understands that. So they come to the table with an understanding of how to communicate with each other. But I think the cool thing in that is y'all actually acknowledge that, like what the differences is. That might be acknowledge what y'all differences are, right?
I feel like when you are, so I feel like when you go through that, everybody's gonna go through like a journey, a coming to Jesus moment at some point in their life. They could call it different moments, Jesus, whatever you believe in, whatever. But like everybody has like that transitional period, and I feel like when you're like learning yourself and finding yourself, you kind of like recognize things more, or you kind of gain that maturity. I feel like not everybody gets that, but if you do get that, then that's good. I mean, you could grow in any relationship because you have to understand the other person's point of view regardless, and you have to be able to communicate with anybody regardless. So like when you're learning yourself and you're like recognizing these things in yourself, and you're like, oh, I don't like that, or I like that, and you're seeing these things in different people, I think you change a way about yourself to the point where you attract like people. And I'm going on a tangent, so.
No, you good, because no, that's good. Like, let's talk about that, right? Like, here go the pen and pad again. She said, and this is a common theme that I've been hearing across all the couples that I've been interviewing. So I'm glad you said it, which is you got to know yourself, right? Like, that's not a tangent. Know yourself, so then you can be able to understand who you are and what you can give to another person. And what that becomes listening, right? Like, I know I'm repeating, guys, but this is their words. I'm learning with you, right? So let's write 4 points down. Know yourself. Like, get to know who you are. Understand who your spouse is. Zach came with some fire and said, hey, give up for the greater good of the house. Like, your house is your peace. So if your peace is off in your household, it's something wrong, right? And one of the most important things, and one of the gems that I'm gonna take away today, and I love it, which is be open. Like, they both like y'all both came on strong, right? Like, and both of y'all said this, and I want y'all to jump back in here. Zach came on and said, hey, I wasn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that like emotional type of, or physical attraction type of person. Affection, thank you. He wasn't affectionate, his wife is. And so that's a transition to open yourself up to feel that. His wife, Lo, said, hey, listen, on a spiritual boy, I was going through some stuff myself. And to let somebody in your world, in that environment, that's huge. That's one of the main reasons why couples get divorced is they can't get in tune spiritually. So I mean, that's dope. So look, let's turn it up, man, because it's somebody like, okay, I'm writing this down, I'm getting the gems, but what about the day-to-day differences, right? Like, how do you guys work through that? Is it like, give me some tangible, like, y'all, and I can help you, think about it, but y'all sitting down, you do something different, he do something different. Is it okay, let's come talk about it? Or is it, let me think about what you just did so I can process it? Is it what is it? Is it, okay, look, let me call my mom and dad so I can see how they hearing about it? Whatever it is, like, we need to know, Because like I said, as a couple, it's like, man, you giving us some great gems, but I need to figure out how to get to that day to day. Like, so what does that look like for you guys when those differences do arise on a day to day?
Yeah. I feel like every situation is different, but ultimately it comes down to one of us sucking up our pride and just coming back to it, which is really the hardest part about it. Because for me, it's always like, I know what to say. I know how to say it to her. I know all that. But sometimes it's just like, no, she gonna get it how it's coming. And you know what I'm saying? So, and it can get a little spicy, but ultimately she'll just be like, I'm not talking to you right now, and we'll break apart for it. It could be half a day, it could be an hour, it could be whatever. But then sometimes it come down to me just being like, all right, bro, all right, you tweet, bro. Like, you got to just be honest about it. I have to come back, and ultimately she wants an apology, which I find has been the hardest thing for me to do. I didn't know. I never knew that was that hard until I started having to do it. And so, ultimately, that's what she always wants in the beginning of the statement.
But I gotta ask you a question though, because I can't forget this because it hit me, right? So I know it had to hit somebody else. What if they thinking like they didn't tweet? Because we talking about differences, right? We talking about she's different, you're different.
True.
And so, since that commonality of maybe thinking the same is different,
you
could be thinking like, yo, I know I was right.
That's 100% of the arguments.
I mean, I never feel like I'm wrong.
That's 100%.
I never feel like I'm wrong.
Let's touch on this.
I never feel like I'm wrong.
Just because I said I tweet don't mean I'm wrong.
Hold on. Listen, I'm going to say it before it even happened because I feel it coming. It's a segment in the podcast where I say, Gym alert. I'm doing it in reversal. Hey, tune in right now. This is where it's about to come. Y'all about to get some life-changing information. Why? Because who really feels like they're wrong, right? But this is the growth.
Yeah.
I need y'all to bring this one home. Home run hitter, right? This might be the podcast with this. Y'all brought up this. This might be the podcast, right? If everybody feels like, yo, I'm right. My wife is wrong. My husband is wrong. How do you help somebody that's watching y'all? What do you give them? Because obviously, y'all been getting through that because y'all stay together. And y'all thriving in this area of understanding that y'all different. So I need y'all to bring this home. Give me both of y'all answer this one.
I say, so what? Like, just because I tweak don't mean I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? And just because she feels her way doesn't mean she's wrong. But ultimately, what I'll bring full circle is the household or the peace is the ultimate goal. So that's the win. So if right now I have to take a L to my pride and just be like, you know what, I might have been right, but you know what? If I just apologize or if I say this thing, then now the household isn't, or now the peace isn't wise, and I didn't lose anything but a simple statement or any sense of value or anything, and that's really what you needed. Then ultimately, that's the win, because the win is my wife's happiness, as was I will hope her win is my happiness. So therefore, really, I did win by creating that good moment of just sucking on my pride and just being like, you know what?
Hold on.
You're right,
Zach. I said it. I knew it was coming. Say that again when you said, because I got to catch it, right? Hold on. I got you. I'm with you. Say it again, though, for me, right? I'm going to say it. I want you to say it because I want them to catch it. You said your wife, your ultimate goal is to make your wife happy.
Yes.
And if her ultimate goal is to make you happy, you won anyway.
That's the win.
Say it for me again, bro.
That's the win. Ultimately, my goal is to make my wife happy.
Yeah.
As I will hope that my wife's goal is ultimately make me happy, and that's the ultimate win. Because if I'm taking care of her, then I don't gotta worry about myself and take care of her. She take care of me. So what I gotta worry about? If we take care of each other, and since we are different, we see where she can be like, all right, I know he wants this, but this is what he needs. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting there like, well, I know this is what she wants. Like, she wants the Starbucks coffee today, but what she needs to do is make it. So I'm gonna just make the coffee for her in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to making it before we go to do the 7, so that way we can maybe start a habit. You know what I'm saying? And so it's small things like that. You know what I'm saying? And so ultimately, it's a little small sacrifice for the ultimate happiness of the household or the goal of the house or the wife.
We're gonna come back to that because I've been looking for something tangible, and you used it with a Starbucks example, and so I love it, right? Because you got all different type of thinkers. You got linear, straight thinkers. You got auditory learners. You got all these different type of learners. And so by you bringing up that example, I want you to keep that for me because I'm coming right back. I'm just coming to your wife because I need you to speak to the ladies, right? Speak to the men. What's good, y'all? Look, we got to take a quick break, and we're going to get right back to the podcast. I just got to highlight our sponsor of the podcast, 7 Love Apparel Clothing Brand, one of the hottest clothing brands coming out of the Chicagoland area. They cater to men, women, and children. It's fashionable all year round, and they represent what the podcast represents, family, love, and unity. So go get you some 7 Love Apparel Clothing Brand right now. Go to 7loveapparel.com and type in Love Conquers 20, and you'll get 20% off because they're a sponsor of the podcast. So let's get right back to this episode. Does that take a toll on somebody who's saying like, hey, I had to put myself back 10 times in a row for the greater good of the house? Is that defeating? Is that like, because I'm pretty sure you had some moments yourself as a black strong woman to say, man, you know what, for our household, for my husband, for my child, this ain't. But isn't that defeating though? Or when you felt like, what does that feel like? How can you help the audience with that?
For sure. To answer your question, absolutely yes. It is 100% defeating, and I think that does 100% takes a toll on anybody if you're constantly like always having to take a step back or always having to swallow your pride. That's why I think it's important to like make sure you're in a relationship that's healthy and that this person has your best interest at heart. So he said, he knows that my goal is to make him it's his happiness, and his goal is my peace, and so forth, whatever. I trust that, and even in the midst of our arguments, like even when we be arguing, like it's still a challenge for us. It's not like something that we just got down packed. I do think we argue pretty well, but yeah, I think that it do get nasty. I ain't even gonna lie. Like it's not perfect, but we both have that understanding where it's like we just need a solution. Like, how we gonna fix this? Because it could go blame game all day long, but it's at the end of the day, it's kind of like, okay, you stuck with me, so what are we about to do together? Like, how are we moving forward, type of thing. And I think that it's not always like him putting his pride aside. It's also me coming to the understanding like, okay, he wasn't 100% wrong. His delivery was terrible, but I do understand where he is coming from. He needs to apologize for his delivery, and then I would admit. No, I'm just playing. No, but listen. He needs to no, he don't need to do anything. But like, I do come to terms where I'm like, okay, he was right in a sense that like I did do that. Listen, or whatever.
That's big. Yeah. Keep going if you got a thought. Yeah.
And I just feel like that's my own maturity of like recognizing that I need to get out of my pride or my own ego. Like, this is my husband. Like, this is my person. This is my everything. You know. So I'm just when we not happy. Like, I'm genuinely not happy. So that affects me. So I want to do anything I can to fix it.
That's big. I hope y'all caught that right. Like, I knew it was gonna be a Gym Alert segment, and it was. She came back and doubled down on it, and she said, hey, it is like, so let me start by saying this. I don't interview one couple, like one person. Because I had people say, hey, listen, my husband is shy or my wife is shy, but I do it, right? The reason why I turn that down and I interview two people is because it's authentic. Because when I'm interviewing one person, you only get one side of the story. So I like that you are super authentic and real and saying, hey, and get nasty in terms of like, yo, it's not going to look perfect. And you answered the question super authentic. I'm bringing authentic people to y'all, man. I'm bringing real authentic, real everyday life people that y'all can go follow on Instagram. It's not a fake page. I'm bringing real couples who got real marriages. And the reason why I'm so passionate about saying what I'm saying is because it seems like the world nowadays it's about fake content. You put something out and you meet that person in real life and they not who they really are when they portray it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever your preference is, right? But I'm telling y'all, man, this is real people and they giving y'all real tangible advice. And so when she come and say, yo, it don't look good all the time. Listen, when she come and say, hey, you know, it is hard and it can be defeating. That's real. But then she doubled down on it and said, hey, the way that you can get past that is it's understanding that you said, hey, when he's off and you're off, you feel bad. Like, it's just the greater good of what you said earlier, the goal. And so
I can give y'all some tangible situation as well. So for example, we'll just do we just had a child, beautiful baby boy.
Congrats.
Thank you. He's 1 now. So the first year sleeping, obviously the child gets throughout the night. She was breastfeeding, so I never got up. Didn't get up throughout the night at all because she was breastfeeding him, so there's nothing I could do.
Okay.
That's how I felt. I always told her though, like once we get him off the bottle and it's just feed him in the morning, I'll get up. I got you. Even though I didn't get up ever in the morning, I told her like, please have faith in me. I'm gonna do it.
Right.
I understand how that seems like that's a reach of faith, but it was a year of honestly constant conversations, arguments and of things of like you never get up, all this other stuff, and the same battle, whatever. And then I'd say that now he's getting off the bottle, and I'm getting up every morning, like I said I would. But it was at the end of the day, it was me telling her like, just have faith that I'm going to do it, and then but me also having to come through and doing it when it was time for it to be done, because if I don't come through this time, then she always has this fallback to, because she'll come back to it like, remember that time you said you was gonna be getting up? And so now I don't have that to fall back on, but now I can kind of have this in my pocket, you know what I'm saying, which is always good for yourself, because sometimes even when you're building trust, you still need something in your pocket that's tangible that they can see, because you don't check all these moments, and if someone's looking for these moments when you talking to them, you might not have them, then you just be sitting there looking cloudy mind, like I don't know. But if you just have this moment, like, remember that? No, like I told you, I'm gonna get up, and that's just like, oh yeah, you're right. So my bad. So that also makes it easier for you to break down the wall, because you have a tangible moment for them to think about. Not really like evidence, but just a moment that you can just throw out there, just easier, because people forget things. People in your day-to-day life, you know what I'm saying? So it's just stuff like that.
I think what my husband is trying to say a little more delicately is that in relationships, it's not always necessarily 50-50 on the task for him, right? It's always like give and take, push and pull or whatever. And like sometimes one spouse might feel like they're giving more in this area, and one spouse might be like, well, I'm giving more in this area, and like you don't realize that you're being taken care of until, like, obviously it's not there anymore, but you don't realize that because they're doing it, and you mindlessly don't even think about it. Like something simple as like my husband orders my toothbrush. Like, I would never go buy a toothbrush because he orders it, which is a weird thing. But, like, it's just, like, certain things like that. It's almost like you don't appreciate it. And in marriages, in relationships, whenever somebody feels unappreciated or whatever, you feel like that's when a problem starts. I feel like that's when you kind of get resentment, you get bitter or whatever. You really have to kind of change the way you think about it.
Listen, like,
it's all about the change of the mindset to me. I feel like I have to show more gratitude towards him, or towards, like, every day, and think of, like, what I'm thankful for before I'm, like, thinking about what he's not doing. And that's how I get through my day.
that's good. How you. This how I know y'all a real couple, cause, like, that was good. Like, how you tied that in, right? So some things that I heard, and I want to recap from the beginning, cause y'all giving some great information, and I want the people to take this to their relationships. You know, I just heard Zach come in and say, hey, when I heard from that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because your wife tied it up too. She brought it home. What I heard was, keep your word, because it matters. It matters for the long haul. Like, you know, with having differences. Zach might not be a morning person. His wife might be a morning person. I know that, and I know it was a circumstance for the child, but we're talking about differences in the relationship. And how can you, as a couple, as a unit, embrace somebody's differences if you're not keeping your word?
Right.
That's hard. You know, that's so hard. And then I heard Low Woods come in and say, hey, great, my husband just dropped a nugget on y'all, but I got to come back and drop another one and say, through those differences, this is what I'm heard, tell me if I'm wrong, right? Have gratitude. How you ended it was like, yo, have gratitude to understand that, like, I might not do this, but if he do that for me, or I do that for him, like, that gratitude is gonna take y'all relationship to a whole nother level. Do y'all practice gratitude in terms of, like, practicing loving y'all differences? Do y'all talk about, like, yo, I like that you're different in that area and you really support me because I don't like to do that? Is that something y'all practice or no? It was just understood.
It's not verbalized. Like,
Okay.
Zach said he's not really a verbal.
I could do more words of affirmation. That's one of the love languages that you should definitely know about your spouse's significant other. The love languages is the way they receive love.
Yeah.
And
Should I put y'all on the spot and ask y'all? Do y'all know?
I know.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ours is words of affirmation.
And then here's this.
Acts of service.
Nice. So how do you guys words of affirmation? Okay. Acts of service. Okay. So do you practice that all the time? Like, do you give each other that, or is it just
Honestly, like, no.
It's funny because I do the acts of service and she does the words of affirmation. So
y'all do the
we're
opposite?
doing each other's love.
It's like literally, like, everybody does this. Everybody does it because you love in the way that you want to be loved.
Yeah. That's
You love in the way that you want to be loved. So, like, I know how to get to him. Like, I know if I want to make my husband happy, I know what I need to do. Obviously. And he know what he needs to say. Like, we know these things.
Yeah.
We just gotta use them.
Yeah. Look, authentic, real people. Once again, like, yo, that's authentic because y'all know when to bring it out, right? Like, y'all don't let it go. Listen, I know y'all said y'all show up and how y'all show up from y'all own personal love language, but y'all don't let it go too far without not showing appreciation for that personal love language. That's a gem. Like, so many of y'all wondering, you know, what I'm hearing, and jump in, you know, if I'm wrong, right? Y'all wondering why we can't figure this thing out. Maybe because you haven't showed your person their love language in years. You keep showing them your love language. Y'all different. We understand that. Like, y'all are different. What they telling y'all and showing y'all, it's okay to be different. It's okay. My man like 6'6", his wife like 5'3", 5'4". It's okay. You know what I mean? It's really okay. And what I'm hearing from this from this amazing couple is it's okay, but y'all gotta stop. And I try to stay away from telling people what to do, right? But you have to stop wondering why y'all relationship is not working in the areas of y'all differences, and you haven't even showed that person what they like. You haven't even catered to their love language. Like, that's big. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's not perfect. I like that you said that earlier. Like, I know you was like, nah, but it was so authentic, you know? Like, because I think, Zach, what you think, bro? Like, I think people need to know that. Like, yo, it's not perfect.
Right.
It's definitely not perfect. And it's just like, it's literally, honestly, every single day we're growing. And I think one thing about me and Zach is, like, you know how people always say, like, you need to have your stuff together, you need to, like, know yourself, you need to do everything yourself first. And that is true to an extent. But you also can still find yourself within your marriage as long as you have a supporting partner or you have somebody that is willing to grow with you. Because I do honestly believe that, you know, marriage is the key to success. Marriage, I don't know any, like, besides Jeff Bezos, but he did just get a divorce. I don't know any, like, super successful, powerful person that isn't married or in some type of serious commitment, you know? So, like, I feel like, you know, that's why I kind of always strive for, like, you know, black love and believing in, like, love. Especially, like, I would love to see, like, you know, black couples striving, you know, their journey and reach success. However, but anyways, me and Zach.
No, listen, you going somewhere because guess who's watching this, right? Black couples.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Look, and not just black couples, all couples, but you going somewhere, and I want to go there with you.
I mean, I'm sorry, just to finish my thought real quick.
Go ahead.
I mean, just to tie it up, like, me and Zach, like, I feel like we still are finding. We are changing. Everybody changes, right? So you're going to change, like, 50 more times throughout your lifetime, and you want to still stay married. So you kind of got to have that mindset of gratitude and just being grateful for where you are and what you have. And then while also being open to your partner growing and changing with you, and kind of accepting and respecting their own personal journey, because that's what it is, still a personal journey. Y'all just work together as a unit.
Everyone's journey is different. So I just use the basic tangible of our spiritual journey. So and on our spiritual journey, I was way further. And I only say I'm further just simply because, like, I grew up in church, so I knew basic knowledge, like Bible stories and things like that.
Got it.
She didn't have that because she didn't grow up in it. So she was still learning the stories. That's small basis of our journey, right? So when we were on this journey, I wasn't like, we gotta go to church every Sunday and you gotta read the Bible with me every day and you gotta fast and pray. It was just kind of like, whatever you're ready for, I'm doing this over here. And if you want to jump in, you got any questions, let me know, because that actually helped me understand that a journey, like, she's actually helped me learn a lot that it's not 0 to 100, you know, because her pace is way different. So it's just kind of like her journey from here to here might, you know, divert left or divert right, and mine is kind of just straight to it. And so I gotta let her divert left and divert right and fall off for a second. I just be like, yeah, I'm here when you come back, or maybe I'll fall off, and then she'll pick up, and then so it's just recognizing that it's not going to be perfect, like she said, and that every day is growing, and I lost my train of thought. So
nah, bro. Yeah.
It is really a journey, like, just like the communication alone, like.
That's the key. That's the biggest key.
That's the biggest key, but you change. So, like, you know, when you change your mindset, you change how you think, so you believe this certain thing, and when your partner is just not there yet, it's kind of like you have to respect it, but you're so over it, and it's kind of like you just still have to, like, respect it and grow and just love it and just, like, I thank you, baby, and just and just learn together, kind of. So, like, I feel like, you know, it's really a journey. It's never a state of being.
I mean, I got more than I expected, right? Like this is good, right? And I want you guys, because we about to wrap it up, and I can be in this conversation for hours with you guys, right? And I hope that this is helping somebody, and I want to say thank you again. But you guys touched on something at the end that I think is really powerful, and I think it really needs to be acknowledged. Zach, you said, I'm trying to think of how I even want to word it. You said that, and I'm just using the spiritual journey because that's what you touched on, but it can be anything. And recognize that it can be anything. This is how we're going to tie this in for you. On differences. This couple talked about differences for the whole time we've been on. You came and said, hey, it's okay. You were more spiritually, whatever that means, right? You were higher than she was at that time, right? But you never forced it on her. And I really love that both of you touched on that piece of not forcing the difference and letting somebody, like you said, grow within the marriage. So let's bring it home with that. And so my question is, because there's a couple out there who's like, yo, but I know this will help them, and I know they need it. Whether it's you got a couple eating habits, they're different.
I'm about to say that.
And like when you got one person that's fit and shape, eating good, and then you got another person who eats terrible, they kind of lose, they kind of gain in weight, whatever, right? Or I'll stay right there, right? But you know that it's beneficial for the other person. We're not talking about like like it's beneficial for you, right?
That's a perfect example.
And so,
Don't get me started.
no. Listen. But think about when you answer it. Once again, it's a couple that's like, Zach, I know you about to go there and give us some gems. Think about that couple that's watching y'all, right? They're saying, hey, bring it home for me though. How can I really work on that difference? Because the goal is to bring a solution to the table. So where's the solution in knowing that it's a difference and you really want to push that person, but you know you got to let them walk slow to get to where you at? And that can be taxing on a relationship. But this might save somebody's marriage.
It's a slow journey. This is a perfect example. Okay, so I'm vegan. She's not vegan. So kind of before we got married, she kind of asked, like, what are some things that you want your wife to do? And I was like, honestly, I just want you to feed me every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean you got to cook for me every day. I just want to make sure I'm fed. You know what I'm saying? And so even if I'm not getting fed, let me know if I get home so I can be fed when I get home. Simple things. You know what I'm saying? It's not as simple as that because of my dietary stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so I'm vegan now, and she cooks the meals, but for a period of time, she wasn't cooking vegan meals. So end up either I wasn't eating or I was eating less because I was lazy to cook, too tired to cook. Anyway, so long story short, for a second, I was upset because she would refuse to cook anything for me. Okay. So we went to therapy, we had therapy, whatever, stuff about things, and so which I highly recommend. But in that moment, it was kind of like I also learned that I was thinking old Western style of like my wife should cook for me, my wife should take care of me. I'm just saying like, and she's just kind of like, nah, I don't want to do that every single day, and I have to respect that because coming into it, she was like that. She said that she would, but I also understood that my dietary restrictions makes it difficult because she has to feed the baby, feed herself, and feed me now. I feel like I'm a grown man, so I should be able to feed myself, which I can. And so therefore, I had to break my entire mold of my wife should feed me and just be like, I can cook for myself. Especially since my restrictions are the reason why she's not cooking or she's not cooking every day. She was definitely making sure I was fed, but it wasn't as much, whatever, nothing, whatever. And so to this day, like, so into it, she has, even with me cooking more, she's like, okay, now I'll make a meal, but my meal will have my meat on the side, And so that way, the main dish will be able for everyone can eat, and then I'll have my stuff on the side, and then we have more veggies. And so we came to a way of being like, well, if I make another main dish, then okay, my main dish would be meat, but I'll make sure the sides and the vegetables are enough that you can eat. So it became a compromise between us all again, but it was definitely a process over time of constant like, yo, like I'm starving, like yo, nigga, eat some meat then, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I mean, we went to therapy for
it was
like
good.
Over diet restrictions, like because I was like a first time mom and like postpartum, and like he wanted me to make vegan meals, and I'm like, what? Like I was over it. I was like,
I followed all the instructions. She was like, send me the ingredients. Send her the ingredients. Send me the recipes. Send her the recipes.
No.
Nothing. She was just like, you gotta pick yourself.
I knew something. It wasn't convenient. It was inconvenient. I was already stressed with work and the baby. And I just felt like, that was really what made me come to terms to think like, we need to figure out like what we expect out of this marriage again, because I think things have changed, and we never revisited that conversation after we had the baby. So a lot of things changed, and like he know that I work, like he works. So now that I'm opening up to like, well, now that he sees that I respect his dietary choices and like I would cook for him or whatever, and I mean I love cooking for my husband, but like now that he sees I respect it, it's almost kind of like in turn he now wants to cook for the family, and he wants to like try things himself because we have to really establish that like, all right, we both work, so mommy can't cook every single day, like she be tired too, so we have to kind of like get a balance in between our schedules and like see what works for us and just go with it, like go with the flow. And regardless if I'm cooking every single day now versus like him, like how it start off like they cooking for like a week and then they fall off. You know how it go. But like no, just playing. But like regardless, I feel like it's still growth there, because at least he's recognizing it. I know now he's like more happy to like cook family meals and like do more around like in that area. So it's kind of like balance for both of us.
Listen, I didn't know where you guys were gonna go with that, but
I am sorry if we went on the tangent.
No, it was so perfect, and I'm gonna tell you why, because I personally got a lot from it. And so I always like to reiterate what the couples just said, because I want people at home taking notes for real, right? They ended it as perfect as they could end it. And I'm going to tell you some things that I took away from it. Thing one, Zach said, yo, it's so simple to me, but a lot of people don't do it. He said, yo, be an adult. You say, yo, I can't cook for myself. Listen, if you're at the point in your marriage, if you're at the point in your relationship where you have differences, and the only reason why you're feuding, or only reason why you're having struggle or confrontation with your spouse is because you want them to do something for you, do it yourself. Like he said it. He said, yo, I had to get to the point and realize like, yo, my wife had a lot on her plate. I had to do it myself, and that's being an adult. It's nice to have your spouse do things for you, and we understand that. So I'm not saying they don't have to, but we're talking about differences and how to handle those differences. If it's something, Zach said it, I'm repeating, write it down. If it's something that's putting a stain on your relationship and it's taking away the greater good of the house, you might have to make a sacrifice and do it yourself. And that's not a negative on your spouse. That's to help the relationship. Second, Ms. Lowe came in there and she said, yo, she gave y'all some personal information, right? She said, yo, yeah, we had to go to therapy. Listen, this is So important. If you can't figure it out yourself, don't be afraid to go get help. Right? They didn't say it in shame. They didn't look discouraged. She said, yo, it was a struggle. We had the baby. We had jobs. We had to go through these differences. And they had to go get help. I'm not going to go spiritual on you, but it's something in the Bible that says counsel. Go get counsel. Right? And they did. That's another tip for the differences. Maybe the differences are so powerful and so strong that you got to go get somebody to show you another perspective. Right? And then they tied it in by saying, hey, well, Lo Woods tied it in by saying, hey, and this is what I heard. You give something for your spouse, you show appreciation to your spouse, they'll start giving it back. Like, he started cooking the meals for the fam. Like, now we know it ain't perfect. She said it. And I'm hitting on that hard because nobody relationship is perfect. I'm not on here to promote perfect. What I'm here to promote is a way to maintain, rebuild, repair. It's really real people out here who's growing, who has love in their relationship, and this is a real life couple that's doing it on a high level. Jobs, kids, life, and so I appreciate you for your time. I hope y'all wrote all those notes down that I said. If you didn't, rewatch it. Write the notes down. Give your spouse time. Right? Give them time to catch up. Be open to the newness. Because whatever was going on before, it probably wasn't working. So you might need to be open to something new in anyway.
Right. And I feel like, it is certain things. I'm not saying like, just because you married, you got to be like open or like patient with everything. Like if it doesn't sit well in your spirit, that's why it's important. You have to know who you are. Like if it's not sitting well in your spirit, you have to say something because you have to be true to yourself. Or if you're not true to yourself, you're not really true in your marriage. Like you're lying in your marriage.
That's huge.
So like, be like, if something is going on that your spouse is doing or partaking in, or you just really don't rock with, you have to be honest, and it's your decision if how you want to act accordingly or act or whatever. Do whatever you need to do.
So look, we about to wrap this up, man. She tied it in. You can't have a successful marriage if you're not even speaking up to your spouse to let them know what's on your mind. We play a game with all our couples. I need you to try this at home. Tell me if it works for you, right? When you're going through a moment of adversity, when you're going through a moment of tension, try this. Sit down with your spouse. Me and my wife tried it. And so the inspiration came from something real. We did this, literally. So I want you to face each other for me. Yep. And the game goes like this, right? Our unity created this. So whatever that this is, you're going to go back and forth. Whoever loses has to do something nice for their spouse. Right?
Okay.
And so it can be anything. But why this is important? Because when you're going through a dark moment in your marriage and you can sit down and appreciate and think about all the things that your unity created, it can kind of bring light to whatever that darkness is. So, ladies first.
Our unity created our baby.
Our unity created love.
Our unity created. Well, I don't gotta repeat the. I do gotta repeat the. Oh my gosh. Okay. Our unity created a happy home.
Our unity created a foundation.
Our unit created stability.
Our unity created growth.
Our unit created patience.
Our unity created I don't know. You got it.
Well, you gotta do something nice for me tonight.
Miss Lowe.
Don't worry, ain't no problem.
Miss Lowe won that. Look, this is the Love Conquers podcast where I interview real authentic couples who dropping gems, right? We're not playing. We're trying to create a movement of healthy marriages, which will create a movement of healthy kids, which will create a movement of a healthy community. So tap into the Love Conquers podcast. You can go to aaronloves.com and it'll take you straight to YouTube to watch the full video. I definitely want to say before we get off here, thank you for coming out and pouring your love into this podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. Like I said,
I
think what y'all doing is so beautiful and just like an inspiration. Like, honestly, we need this type of like content in our communities. Like, we need to see, like, Black people need to see this, because you often see the failed relationships of social media, or the negative, or the just not reality,
Yeah.
not the reality of the situation. So like, I love what you all are doing, and I'm blessed and so honored to be a part of it. So thank you for having us.
No, thank you. Look, it's the Love Conquers podcast. It's going up every Thursday. Tune in at 7 p.m. where you can see the full video. We love you. Be blessed. Have a good one.